Caster Des to go ahead and take us into game 2.
Theory confirmed. Remnants of yesterday's series still haunt ONIC Philippines as King Kong once again brings into the land of Dawn that Lancelot in the jungle. Welcome to game number 2. First on the board is AURORA. ONIC yet to score.
Yep. By the way, fun fact, I think King Kong got the highest GPM yesterday, right? And that was on the Lancelot. But I really agree with what Renmar just mentioned, that it's gonna be hard pulling up the Lancelot this time considering AURORA's lineup.
Yeah, I really love that throwback as well to the era where Lancelot and Fredrin just, they just met. And then at that time, right after, people realized it's really strong.
You know what, Carl? You're throwing back to a time wherein Fredrin was new to the game, and this is what, early season 10?
Yeah.
But let me throw back to about 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a month, when in the XP lane, Fredrin was played by BTR's Luke to a win. So this is not weird in the current metagame. Like, yeah, it's very exotic, but it happens.
Yeah, it does. And I feel like it responds well against the lineup of ONIC, who really needs to almost always close in towards AURORA's lineup for them to actually pull off a team fight. I mean, Jushin in itself is kind of mid-range, and we did mention that it can be quite difficult, but for a team that, or for an idea which is just simply trying to stop ONIC Philippines, and I feel like it's going to be really effective, or even just catching Brusco or stopping him in his tracks.
Oh, speaking of getting stopped in his tracks, Renegade might be in trouble here, forced to use a flicker to get out. Make sure he doesn't die, but that is a huge resource. And very basically done here by ONIC.
Amazing dodge from that Phantom execution. He saw it a quarter of a second before King Kong pressed it.
Yep. Fortunately, there was the flicker indeed that was available, but now it feels like just because of that simple resource that ONIC Philippines knows is unavailable for AURORA, they will be the ones to try to scout the area first. But Demon Kite, he's quick to respond, and he's the one starting things up.
They're actually getting started here, and they're focusing on the Fredrin. Very interesting choice here. And now they're fighting with very low HP bars, and King Kong will be able to get that turtle and just buff up his teammates just a little bit more, forcing AURORA to disperse.
Icing on the cake, King Kong focused on the turtle, helped his teammates by scoring a shield, which allowed for them to push on forward. 2 free kills, big objective, Super Fam on!
And I feel like we've seen this yesterday too. King Kong, even on a Lancelot, just being set on taking the necessary objectives, avoiding the team fights early on, going for the turrets, and with the Demon Slayer emblem in his emblem combinations too, it feels like they just know that this is the way to go, especially if they want to avoid the struggles or the challenges they'll probably face up against lineup or AURORA if they decide to fight them head on.
Yeah, it is Throwback Thursday. It was called Demon Hunter. Now it's Season Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same icon. And this is what SDZYZ then in Season 9 used on this very hero to show us that, hey, you can play Lancelot to a utility form. You can't play it like this, just objective-wise. Now, Renegade gets caught once more.
Yeah, Renegade again in trouble here. No flicker to save him this time around. Oh, actually, he's back on. What? Wow. That was a short cooldown, but you're not going anywhere. Super Friends pulls him back.
They just don't let him get away. Now this is clearly ONIC Philippines being the ones to rotate faster, especially considering the Bastions in their hands, but US!
Oh!
That was so good right there for King Kong. Gets answered immediately by Demon Kite, but it feels like AURORA are just trying to cauterize the wounds here. They'll get another kill into the Super Friends. He's on a killing spree, Leo.
Super Friends and Brusco, 2v1. Those are 2 support heroes taking down Demon Kite.
Super Friends feels like he's mad. It reminds me of the way he just suddenly played the Selena so aggressively after a loss in the regular season. And now they're again back at the quick rotations, even stopping Edward right here.
Yep. Gonna go pulling it back for the next possible turtle fight, but I don't know. AURORA doesn't feel like they're ready to take this just yet.
No, despite having a Fredrin again in the XP lane and a Lucas being so strong when you're fighting in the paint, AURORA seem to be doubting their early game strengths. ONIC has single-handedly used the Lancelot once again to full effect. It wasn't a fluke yesterday. That wasn't a fluke.
That was a fluke.
Oh my goodness, it's already a 3K goal lead for ONIC Philippines. And they know fully well where AURORA is. And you could say the same for Kellera this time around, but it's ONIC in the lead, so you could expect him to go online a little bit earlier compared to game number 1.
Check it
Look
out.
at that.
Edward's first and last Veteran game was back in Season 12 in a playoffs match against ONIC. This very ONIC.
Wow. Wow, that's a big throwback. I'm very glad our stats people got it.
It wasn't weird.
It wasn't weird.
It wasn't weird.
It happened.
We're not Mandela affecting y'all, all right? It is Throwback Thursday, and our production is confirming that this did happen.
Yep. Right now, we're looking at the items so far for both of our teams. Only one has already, or only King Kong and Dominic have already secured their first core item so far. But this is ONIC Philippines paying full attention to the gold lane. Fortunately, Renegade is here to guide and protect Demon Kite, but I feel like they won't be letting Demon Kite freely do his farming any further.
Yeah, just to add to that, there's not much Renegade could do. Dominic Kite senses it. Here's the conceal. Super Prince still engages.
Oh my goodness.
Man, Super Prince, like we're gonna mention, is very, very mad, or looking like it, inside the Land of Dawn here. Just even diving under that second turret. Oh, force him to fight on top side though. Beautiful engagement. 3-on-1. No chance for King Kong to make it out.
That was so quick. The flicker into the title strike. Even with barely no vision on where exactly in the bush he was.
In other words, pulling back Brusco as well. Super Prince still has some pretty good DPS even on his own. Putting Renegade on almost half. Look at that.
This is probably one of Super Prince's most scariest forms. Like when he's able to do all this on the Jushin without any fear up against Aurora, despite the potential presence of like a setup into the burst damage that can be provided by UA, they just seem to know that they're way ahead for them to fear that.
Super Prince is here to prove to us that this lineup works. Again, despite the lack of burst, again, the conventional understanding what burst is in the current metagame, the Super Fam has a chip on their shoulders. They want to make this lineup work, and so far it is. 2 turtles in, a solid 2,500 gold lead. Junglers are beating up.
Yeah. Speaking of junglers, look at those 2 junglers on top side. King Kong and Demon Kite, a little bit of a high five to each other. And look at that as well. ONIC forced out the feathered airstrike, so I think that's a very confident turtle going over to King Kong.
And it was Brusco who started it all. Now they're going for mid.
Big knockup into the Tsunami Slam, but there's just no coordination whatsoever on the side of Aurora. Everyone is just running for their lives, Leo.
Unfortunate. To be fair, I think Renegade was taking away ONIC from his backline, all right? That's why he brought him there, but it cost him his life. It was worse. Even Edward had to pay the price, but que sera, when you're down 4K like this, fresh off a turtle take, and ONIC means business, this is what you can expect to happen.
Yeah, and it was really surprising to see that the crossbow that was still casted.
And there you go. This time around, no fear whatsoever in the eyes of the Super Fam. Looking at Aurora head on and looking at them under their towers.
It's only been 8 minutes, but look at this. Even Renegade, he's feeling the damage from the single Thorn Rose that King Kong is able to dish out.
Super Prince, you're a mage. You're not supposed to be underneath a turret with no minions like that.
Okay, in fairness, one of the tankiest mages in the game, but still, right?
And the guy who introduced the entire Brave Smite concept, tanky emblem combinations for a mage. So it's surprising to see that he's not higher up there in the damage taken leaderboards, but you know.
He's remixing his own rendition of the Jushin.
It's a remix of a remix.
This is the 2025 version of how you play it. And here's the thing. Here's what I'm afraid of, all right? Kelra's only been getting assists. He hasn't really even taken to the skies to actually get kills.
Yep. And compared to earlier, there was no need for him to go for the Wind of Nature immediately, but Renegade...
Oh, straight into the fight. I think that was a pretty forced Tsunami Slam. He's gonna go down as well with a few easy hits. King Kong playing it under these 2 turrets. And again, no fear whatsoever in the eyes of the Super Fam.
Cydic Perez almost gave everyone from Aurora a signed face photo cards. Just, here we go, shing, shing, shing.
Look at that, just using these feathered airstrikes to clear the minion waves. Aurora is trying their very best to survive.
Yeah, this is a huge problem though. If your lineup is like this,
oh my goodness,
and they get to slow you down really well, enough for Kelra to just freely throw out his arrows. Like this doesn't normally happen. The 1-1 gets bursted down, but in this scenario, ONIC Philippines through the Jushin, through the Baksha, whenever Aurora gets a little close, they almost always find a way to stop them from getting back safely.
Again, hindsight is 2020, but I think this is what ONIC was going for in Game 1. This kind of play style.
I mean, it's pretty similar, right? Zushin on the core of it as well.
The 1-1.
The 1-1, exactly.
So that probably was the plan all along. And only now they're able to show us how it actually is executed with that almost 10K gold lead in 10 minutes that they've been able to secure in their hands. Aurora, at least they have the Farsa this time around. They have the carry as well to deal with the waves that could potentially come in. But they have to be careful of Kelra and the crossbow attack.
He is applying pressure alongside Brusco. I don't know if Rora knows that Kelra is here with the Bruiser. Lord spawns in mid, waiting to march in. 10K up. This is ONIC's game to lose. Concealed by Brusco.
11 minutes on the clock. They are diving in with that Lord. Two-man knockdown by Kirk here. Edward is in trouble. His brethren can't really stand the DPS for long. And now that turret is going to go down.
Slow and steady.
He doesn't even have enough time to use the Appraiser's Wrath if he wanted to.
He can't. He just can't.
He flickered away.
That's just how fast they're able to burst him down without any major ultimates used just yet by ONIC Philippines.
Look at ONIC, they're starting to go to the drawing board. They're looking for an angle of attack, and they are attacking a west way they know how. Right in the front, right to the base of their opponent. Diving in, that's going to be King Kong going down though. But where is Kelra? What's Kelra looking like? He's going to be forced to back off. That's two members going down for ONIC. This attack is not as clean as I thought it would be.
For the first time in a while, ONIC suffer casualties. 2 for 2. Edward and Demon Kite for Kirk and King Kong. Man, that last inhibitor down bottom cost ONIC a lot.
Yep, we'll be seeing the instant replay in a bit where Kelra actually, in that particular sequence, was able to use the crossbow of Tang, but fortunately for Aurora, it actually transferred immediately from Edward to Demon Kite, two of those heroes in Aurora's lineup which are expected to tank the damage from Kelra. And so Yue, Dom and Kite, they were just able to focus down on clearing out the waves and defending their base. But this is something that allowed ONIC to clear all of Aurora's base turrets, and that just keeps that 10K gold lead intact for ONIC Philippines.
Closer to about 9, but they have stopped the bleeding. But the onslaught continues. Oh, what is this?
Okay, nice try here from Renjay, but that's going to be purified out of the way. 4v5 right now. ONIC is on a rampage. They're just not stopping for anybody. Edward can't even put down the Appraiser's Wrath in time. And now it's an empty base. 3 members of Aurora to defend against an onslaught of ONIC members. And it's just impossible to fight. Demon Kite goes down even after that full combo, and that's game number 2 in the bag for ONIC.
The inevitable win for the Super Fam here. 1-1 on the board. ONIC PH.